I've remade this bedroom from top to bottom, and I'm so excited to show you the process. And the thing we're going to start with are these built-ins on the side of the bed. Ever since we moved into this house, I've been going room by room and redoing things so that I can get it situated for my family. This is my son's room, and it obviously needs a lot of storage and organization and a bunch of decor, so we're going to get started with this space today. Now, I like to do mood boards because it really helps me to envision what the space is going to look like, the color scheme we want to go for, and this is a mood board that I created for my son's space. He picked the colors, and I know that these built-ins on the side look kind of pink. They're not going to be that color when we're done. It's time to move on to the built-ins that are on either side of the bed. They'll install there. I need to make a base for these stock cabinets that I got at Home Depot. They're a pretty good price. They're only about 12 inches deep, so I thought they'd be perfect for the sides of the beds. They won't take up too much room, but they'll allow for storage and then some shelving on top. So I'm going to build the bases right now out of some 2x6s, and then I'm going to remove these doors and paint these cabinets. So I found this stock cabinet at Home Depot, and it was the perfect size for either side of the bed, and it was actually cheaper to buy it put together from Home Depot than to do it myself. So we went that route. While I was at Home Depot, I picked up some 2x6s that I will be using as the base. We have 5.5-inch baseboard, and I wanted it to be as tall as the baseboard to look more built in, and that way I don't have to remove baseboards. Then I took the doors off the stock cabinet in order to paint. This paint claims that it doesn't need any primer. This is the Rust-Oleum Studio Color. I found it at Walmart, and I wanted to give it a try without the primer to see how it did. I gotta tell you, I was super impressed. I really like it. It dries pretty hard, almost like an enamel. I'll put a link in the description below. This is not a sponsored post by them, but I really did like the paint. I got it in matte, and while the doors were off, I decided to carry up the cabinet and do a dry run. Now I've got my ear protection in, I'm going to start building the top portion of these built-ins. This will sit on top of the cabinet or the stock cabinet that I already bought, and this will be the shelving. I'm using MDF cut to the exact depth of the cabinet itself, and then I'm pocket holing, gluing, and screwing these all together to make 2 shelves, and this is the exact height between the top of the cabinet and my ceiling. I did use MDF because I was trying to save a little bit of money, but if I had to do it again, I'd go with plywood. Now I'm going to put this base in and then set the cabinet right on top of that base that I created. You don't need to anchor the base. The weight of the cabinet and the shelving will keep it in place. I should have mentioned this earlier, but the base is cut to the exact width and depth of the cabinet. It does sit back behind the trim to give it a little space and make it look like one piece. Okay, now there is a plug down in that corner. I'm going to take some toothpaste. I'm going to mark all 4 spots on the plug, push the cabinet back so that it marks the back, and that will tell me where to cut out the plug. This is a trick I learned not too long ago. It's super helpful when you want to cut something out of the back of a piece of furniture. You mark the 4 points here, and I'm just tapping a little toothpaste. You can pretty much use anything. You can use craft paint, you can use lipstick. You press the cabinet up against the plug, and then you're left with these marks from the toothpaste, which wipe off of the plug really easily, and that lets you know where you need to drill holes in order to use your jigsaw blade to cut the rectangle out. Now don't come at me in the comments. I know my hair looks like it's close to the drill. It's actually not. It's just the angle of the camera, which happens sometimes. Now I'm using my jigsaw with a spider blade, and I'm just going to cut from hole to hole. This will help me stay on point and cut the exact size of the plug, and the plug will be able to be accessed from inside the cabinet. Now I'm just going to slide the cabinet back in place and make sure everything looks good. And it's perfect. Now I'm going to drill some holes in the top and the sides so that things can come through and be able to be plugged in. I'm also using this piece of 1x16 pine for the top, and then I will set the shelving right on top of that. I have primed the MDF at this point, and I'm just doing a dry fit to make sure it fits all the way up to the ceiling from the cabinet base. And I'm actually making 2 of these on either side of the bed, and the dry fit looks really good. So I think these are ready to finish being painted and put in place. Okay, so we've got a couple wires we want to pop through. So I'm going to go ahead and use this spider bit. I'm I'm doing it from the outside in, just in case there's any tear out, it will be on the inside of the cabinet. I don't usually have tear out from these bits though. These spider ones are great. His bed LED lights, pop that through there. The mattress will hide this, so I'm not too worried about what's on top. I need to get all the soft stuff. Now I'm going to quickly install the shelf that came with this stock cabinet. It came with everything for this process, and I wanted to do it before putting the doors all the way on, just to make it a little easier. And the doors are on, and you get to see my tripod completely fall over. Sometimes content creation is super fun. Now I did have these pieces of 1x that I'm going to put underneath each shelf, and I'm going to nail them into studs just to give these MDF shelves a little bit more strength from behind. So I'll nail the 1x into the studs, and then I'll nail the shelf into the 1x. And then I had some 1-inch pieces of MDF that I decided to use as trim on the front of the shelf. So I'm going to go ahead and brad nail this into the sides and across the fronts to give it a cleaner finished look. Now for the top here, I really want to add some trim to make it look built in. I was going to do some crown molding, but the pricing was pretty crazy, and honestly I don't love cutting crown molding. So I just got some pretty trim pieces, or baseboard, or chair rail, all of that would work. And it just fits flush up to the ceiling, and then I cut a 45 for both sides so that it wraps around the cabinet. I did add a 1x2 below the molding or the trim just to make it look a little thicker or deeper, taller? I don't know, but it makes it look nicer. So I'm just brad nailing these into the trim, into the cabinet, and then I'll start caulking all the seams and finish painting. And now it's time for my favorite part, caulking. Okay, it's not really my favorite part. I hate this part, but I like DAP caulk. This stuff dries really fast, it's paintable, and it really seals up all these seams and makes it have a really beautiful finish. And I'm taking that paint and filling all of that in once the caulk was dry, and it's just about finished. It's all coming together. I did stain the 1x16 pine pieces between the base and the shelving. You can see that there. And other than that, it's all done. Okay, I've gotten several comments on Instagram and on TikTok about this plug, and I want to address just something that I've been hearing over and over, and that was that I should have taken the plug plate off, the outlet plate, and then cut the hole small enough to fit behind that so that you can put the plate back on and have it look nice and clean, and that is a great way to do this. You totally can. I really don't care about how it looks since it's going to be behind these doors. It is a closed cabinet, so that wasn't something that's important to me. So you can make that decision based on what your needs are. And the other thing was that it's against code to put a plug inside a cabinet like this, and that is absolutely false. It is more commonplace to have plugs like this in cabinets for appliances like your microwave or a stove or a refrigerator, but it is totally within code as long as you can access it readily, which you can by opening the doors. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this, make sure to check out some of my other videos. I do a ton of DIY stuff and reviews. This was a really easy, like maybe a few days project, and it looks so good. I love that it adds shelving and storage below that can be closed and hidden. Make sure to tune in a little bit later for the bed process and also the LED light process. Thanks and see you next time.